Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chaos and Company podcast series. Today, we are going to be talking about D&D IRL. What does that mean? We're going to talk about what classes we received from different quizzes we've all taken and what our in real life stat block would look like. Today, I have some friends with me. I have Hannah, Josh, Mark, Jordan, and myself. And we are going to go ahead and kick right off with Hannah. What result did you get from your quiz?
I got cleric.
Okay. That is certainly a class. Josh, what did you get?
I got druid.
Okay. Mark?
Paladin.
Okay. Jordan?
Warlock.
And I got bard. Hannah, we'll start with you. Do you agree with your quiz results? Yes or no, and why?
Yeah, I think I do agree with them. I disagree. The quiz I took, I disagree with how they word cleric, because they're definitely calling it a holy warrior type of thing. But the way I've always done clerics, and this is how I feel like I kind of am, it's a helper. You help people in whatever situation. So yeah, I agree with my result.
What do you all think? I'll go first. I think, Hannah, just getting to know you over this last year plus, this makes a lot of sense, right? You know, I feel like you're always willing to like kind of chip a hand in, kind of help out, you know, be the kind of big sister role that you've played for a lot of us in the studio. So I'm not surprised. I mean, obviously I'm not on camera, but I smiled. I was like, yeah, no, that checks out completely. What do the rest of you think?
And I think this is the first time we've spoken to one another, but if I was ever afflicted with a condition, I would definitely come your way seeking some type of assistance.
Jordan, Mark, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would say cleric or druid both would work very well for Hannah.
There are so many kitties. There are so many animals.
No, hold on, Mark. Don't go overstepping into the druid, because like we haven't gotten to me yet, and that's mine.
I mean, there are tons of druids.
There can only be
what
one.
Do you think the difference? What do you think the difference between a druid and a cleric really is, though? What do you think she makes closer to a cleric than a druid?
Well, when I think of like a druid versus a cleric, so like a cleric is worshiping some god, right? Like that's like the connection there, while like druid is worshiping like nature, right? Like they are very similar, right? Because they're both wisdom classes, right? And just from knowing Hannah, there's definitely a lot of wisdom there. But I think that there's like the higher power as opposed to Mother Nature herself. So, and
I think you could also interpret higher power as far as, you know, the real world could just be like a community type thing.
Ooh.
Or an ideal.
Rather than
Or an ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd probably chalk up the difference between the two, what was already said, but also I picture clerics being a lot more sociable and involved with people.
Ooh, yes.
In the day-to-day, whereas druids are probably a little more reclusive, a little more isolated, but still willing to reach out and help those, you know, around them.
Hannah does just hop into voice call if there are people in there.
Yeah. Not very like reclusive as a lot of druids will be, right? Like they'd much rather just be with nature and the animals and like not really around other folks. So, Hannah, anything else you would like to share, or would you like us to go to Josh?
Well, I'm interested in what Josh thinks about his being a druid.
I've got thoughts. All right, so I got druid, which honestly did surprise me, but I don't think it's inaccurate. I've never played a druid. I don't even think I've looked at the class for very long. But I have DM'd a lot and had druids and stuff, so I kind of understand what they're about. And I do think it's accurate because I too enjoy filling in a support role. I like being able to lift up other people and other classes to help them perform at a higher level while not necessarily basking in the limelight directly. And I think druids do that a lot, and their kit is very kind of geared in that direction. So I do think it's that. And then, yeah, I would say I myself am far more reclusive. I'm a solitary creature by nature. I don't often reach out unprompted, but I am very keen on assisting people, if they need it. So I feel it's very accurate for who I am as a person.
I would like to chime in here. So I see it, but I kind of hedged my bets on all of you. And Josh, I thought for sure you were going to be an artificer. Because you're very tinkery, right? That's very much like you in every iteration of you that I've known, right? From like when we weren't like friends yet, right? We were just acquaintances, and then we were friends, and then now we're good friends, right? Like I feel like as I've gotten to know you more, right? Especially with the StarCraft bot that you're building,
Yeah.
right? That like, whoa, that's not like I think I'm gonna do like a little fun activity today. Like that's there's a lot of intelligence required with that, right? There's a lot of like being okay with it not working the first time and kind of being okay with like repetition and like learning. And
I
so
would agree with artificer.
Okay.
If I was more generally tinkery, I get very hyper focused
Okay.
on like one thing. Like the StarCraft bot is the prime example of like when I say I enjoy coding, I enjoy coding my StarCraft bot, and that's about it. Like I don't really do a lot of like other projects outside of that. So I'm very, very much a hyper focused thing. So like I could see artificer being argued. Yeah, I don't have any qualms against that.
that was just kind of my first thought, but I'm interested as Mark knows you not as well as I do, but more than Jordan and Hannah do. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Hearing you explain the artificer thing, I think both of them are very valid, and like I think Druid is a great one because like I know that he makes time for his family and his kids, and just a generally caring kind of person.
Yeah, my children are wild animals, so it fits.
I was wondering if that was going to come up, and I was like, oh, maybe not.
I'll take it. I'll freely express that. Yeah, no, they're wild animals. We're trying to domesticate them.
Now, remember, though, when you try to domesticate an animal, as two people who've worked at a zoo, Jordan and I can both attest that they are always quote-unquote trained animals, right? Because they're still animals, and that's important to remember. So, and as someone who is still feral into his 30s, right, that is a prime example. Jordan and Hannah, what would you guys like to share about Josh's druidness?
Like you mentioned earlier, I don't think we've ever actually talked, but it is interesting the difference between druid and cleric. And I have played both in D&D games, and my druid currently is not as much a support class as the cleric. So it's just kind of interesting the personalities that you can create or that you have in real life. Because I do see druids as being that little bit more solitary. They've got their specific people and they don't really branch out much, and clerics maybe do a little more.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's with the artificer comparison. I think artificers are like they love to do tons of different things, but all kind of related. Whereas I can see a druid more focusing on like the things that they really enjoy. You know what I mean?
Josh, my secondary question for you, right, is because Hannah brings up a good point, would you find yourself more as like the off-tank, wild-shaped druid who's kind of up there, or do you think you would truly find yourself as more of like the supporter, you know, healing word, cure wounds, healing spirit kind of druid?
If I were to kind of create a druid after with like a goal of reflecting myself as a person, it would probably be like animal summon, like a lot of like, you know, low HP but just multiple target stuff to keep enemies occupied while casting healing and like buffs in the back would probably how I would play it.
That is my favorite thing personally to do. I just like to be a
Whether
keeper.
that's the most optimal play style, you know, probably remains to be seen. But that's,
you know, we're trying to have fun, Josh. Right? You know, we're trying to have fun and not, you know,
winning's fun.
We can win by not doing things optimally as well.
You know, no,
shouting things is fun.
So
Mark's got it.
So, Mark, on to you, my friend, which I heard the disdain in your voice, and I would love to hear more about that from you.
So, I got Paladin, and I agree with it mostly. The one thing I don't agree with is the tie to divinity. I'm not a religious person. And, it's not really... like, the way faith is, it doesn't ring with me like it does with some people. Like, if you took the traits of a paladin, just removed divinity, and, like, it could be just a fighter, you know?
So, as Mark's longest standing friend of almost 20 years, right? Like, it's shocking to me that you didn't get fighter or barbarian. I would have truly lost money on you with that, because that's the main thing, right? Is the faith aspect, which is totally fine, right? Like, everyone gets through life a different way, but faith has never been something you've ever been interested in. You've had a deep respect for other people for it, right? And you're like, hey man, as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people, like, that's fine by me, right? You know, you've always been very respectful of that, but I laughed when you said that, because I was just like, there's no fucking way Mark would hate this. Like, and when I think about you, you're like, yes, paladins are strong, right? But like, Mark, you are very physically strong. And when I think about what you like to do and how your brain works, like a battle master fighter is the first thing that came to mind, right? Because you always have a plan. There's always your strategy, Fire Emblem brain, right? That you really like those style of chess-like games, right? But they're just more entertaining than chess is. And I feel like you would be so livid all the time dealing with your divinity stuff. Be like, well, I broke my oath again. Cool. Here we are. We're poor again, everybody. So but Jordan knows you second best here out of this group. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with the paladin versus fighter sentiment. And I do think, like, it's when comparing D&D classes to real life, again, just like what we said with Han and the cleric, it is something to remember that, obviously, if I'm not a religious person either, but honestly, if my gods could give me powers, I probably would be. So it is kind of interesting to, you know, make those two comparisons there. So again, if you want to think about it more like loyalty to like your friends, you know, maybe that's something closer. Because I do think that you're a pretty good friend overall, you know, so like you definitely care about you know, the friends around you. So that could give you a couple more points toward paladin, but I genuinely do think like the tactfulness of fighter is probably a little bit closer to what you're looking for.
I will say, to bolster Jordan's point a little bit, Mark, you are not without charisma, right? There is a charm to you, right? And there is the have to be charismatic to do some of the paladin things. And maybe that's what the test picked up on, right? So
Maybe.
just something to think about. Hannah or Josh, I would love if either of you two or both of you two, or at the same time interrupting each other, wanted to chime in.
Absolutely.
I don't always see paladin as needing divinity, more as having a internal code that they follow.
Ooh.
So it doesn't have to be a loyalty to a deity. It could just be, I have this internal set of rules that I stick to.
Oh, I love that. Well, fuck. If we're going off of Hannah's thing, Mark, you're gold off that.
True.
You are very morally
have
sound.
I'm in a campaign right now where I play a paladin, and that's exactly how I play my paladin as well. He does not have any connection to the divine, but gets his power from his own code of ethics of helping out the little guy. That's where he gets his power from.
All right, Hannah, keep going. You're spitting gold. Keep going.
Well, yeah, having that can make an Oathbreaker paladin extremely interesting, because what happened in your life to make you go against your own code?
Whoa.
That's
Yeah.
Ooh.
If we're going that way. But back to Mark being a paladin, like if you've got that, if you have a code that you follow, regardless of what it is, then yeah, you could 100% be a paladin more than a fighter. I mean, there's not a huge difference between the two, other than that, thing that you believe in, that you follow.
And after the oh bitch moment on stream the other day, I think you smited something. I think we witnessed that in real time. So maybe that's been there the whole time. Josh, last but certainly not least, weighing in on Mark's paladiness.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of things that have been said, because the transitioning it from game mechanic to real life, faith makes the most sense, but that's not necessarily the only way. Like, to borrow on an anime trope, that you could think of an anime main character that cherishes his friends and uses the power of friendship to overcome all obstacles, as them channeling their oath, because that's ultimately the tether that they hold to, that guides everything they do, is that bond with their friends. And so yeah, that could be any number of things, not just a faith in a divinity, but just a personal moral, a personal code that you hold to, and that helps empower your decisions and act with accuracy and great power and all that.
Mark's out here being Sir Mark, the power of love and friendship out here.
Hell yeah. I fight for my friends.
Oh,
I love that.
You know what? We're gonna move on to Jordan. I'm totally kidding, Mark. It's been cool to hear your voice and tone change from the gold that Hannah and then Jordan kind of pushed forth on that, right? Because you're oh, right? Because I don't want to gaslight you and say you were having kind of an identity crisis, but the disdain in your voice when you first shared was palpable. I can feel it on my skin. It doesn't feel super great, but it's one of those things where it's cool, right? To be I didn't think about it from this perspective. Now I have this new perspective, and now this makes sense to me. So, that makes me happy.
I think that's why you do this, though.
Right?
Because you can look at something from the same angle every single time, but someone else comes along, they look at you from another angle and see something completely different, and just get a better viewpoint.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Or Mark, did you want to say anything else?
No.
Okay. Jordan, my warlock friend.
So, I took the short quiz first.
And what did you get?
I got rogue.
What?
And immediately was all right, let's go find a 140 question quiz. I need to get down to it. And you know what? The funniest part about that is because I got warlock, it makes a lot of sense why I would try to dig deeper and find a quiz that is way longer and more in depth to really get down to how I actually feel.
Yep.
Because warlocks are always looking for knowledge. They're always looking for just more power, but power in like the way of just knowing more.
Bro,
So
no, you're getting quizzed by the quiz. Wait a second.
Right? It's like, hey, you're a rogue. Maybe you're not a rogue.
What type of patron do you think, as someone who, as you stated, like, not a faith person, right? I still feel like with clerics and warlocks, there's still that faith, right? It's just kind of whether it's placed. Actually, no. Let's slap druid in there too. Between cleric, druid, and warlock, there's still that faith in something. So how do you feel about that with a warlock, where those powers technically have to come from another entity?
I think my entity is kind of a little bit of like the world around me, in a sense that the things that I have gathered in my life, friends, my work, my own abilities, those have become the things that have shaped me to what I am. So I think those are my patrons. The little things that I've cultivated throughout my life, to force me into like, like the things that I use in my day to day.
Okay, I feel that. As the person here who's known you the longest, I'm honestly was kind of on the same thing with Josh a little bit, with like the artificer thing, right? Because when like you two are my two most tinkery friends, right? Like Jordan, you're always working on something, and it's usually a million different things at the same time, right? Like I have never seen you be satiated or take a break, right? You're like, well, I have this day off, so I'm working on this, right? So I was kind of thinking about that, and like, you're also very intelligent in my mind, right? Of being like, oh, well, we can do this, this, and this, right? Getting the studio started, I'm like, Jordan, how are we going to edit these videos, and how are we going to do these things, right? And you always have kind of that answer. So I was just kind of wondering if you might end up that route. But I will state that, like, I'm glad you retook a quiz, because, like, I'm sure Mark will agree with me. Rogue is not it. That is insane for you.
So I will say this quiz also gave me what ability scores it thinks I would have. Okay. And it put my charisma below my intelligence. Which honestly, if you're that's not a good thing.
No, but it's true.
But also looking at the quiz, it actually tells me my points between each class, and I'm only 1 point under Warlock as an Artificer.
Oh, look at me fucking go. Look at me.
So as I think we've talked about in the past, I do feel a little bit more fluid in the kind of person I am. I don't really like stick to one type of class, I would say. I can shift between classes based on the situation.
Bro, multi-class.
Hey.
I would 100% multi-class, even if it's inefficient. I'm not a min-maxer. I'm
Same.
doing everything by lore, by feel. I like to do the things that just make the most interesting combinations. I would be a half warlock, half artificer any day, even if it's terrible.
I would love that.
Actually, multi-classing is the most optimal because most classes are front-loaded with power.
True.
Anyway, I'm done.
All right, well, Josh doesn't get to share any opinions for Jordan. No, just kidding.
It wouldn't be a D&D nerdy podcast without somebody going, actually.
Right.
Ooh.
That's true. Hannah, Mark, Josh, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, like, as Jordan was describing himself, I'm going, are you sure you're not a wizard? Like, if your intelligence is slightly higher and you have a thirst for knowledge, are you sure you're not wizard?
So I will say the one thing about wizards is that they enjoy sitting down and being like stuck in their thoughts and their studies and stuff like that. As much as I love to seek out knowledge, I do it because I want to have fun, or I do it because I want to be better at something to like show other people that I'm good at it. Whereas I think wizards are more like they just want to have the knowledge to have the knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. then I think I would lean more Artificer over Warlock
Yeah.
for you.
I think, with these quizzes, there's some questions that you're just like morally, you're like, well, I just don't think about that the way. And I think with these being so close together that I definitely think I'm probably more closer to Artificer than actually closer to Warlock. But maybe it's more like one of those things where I'd rather be.
Right. Mark, Josh?
Yeah. No, I agree with everything Jordan's said, breaking down the classes that he most represents. Because, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are fairly fluid, just depending on what perspective you take as to what box you could fit into. But yeah, I think Warlock makes a lot of sense because there is a lot of like intelligence there. Just with like the lore of the class, like I feel like it can kind of mold itself around pretty easily. So I think that's pretty fair.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really have much else to tack on that others haven't said.
And now, Jordan, is there anything else you would like to say?
I think that's all I have.
And now we get to the most... Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. I'm surprised that first quiz gave you Rogue. You're totally not the sneaky subterfuge kind of person.
So let me tell you this thing. On that first quiz, it says, "Who is your biggest enemy?" And you want to know what I clicked on that?
You see yourself.
Rogue.
Oh.
I clicked Rogue. I clicked Rogue for my biggest enemy. Which, you know what? To be fair, I think a Rogue's biggest enemy would be another Rogue. But
yeah, that is
still,
very accurate.
It's just weird.
You get assassinated by another assassin, then yes, that is the unfortunate biggest enemy. Well, friends, now we're going to move to the most predictable part of this section, which is me. Surprising absolutely nobody that I got to be the bard as the leader, the storyteller, the streamer, the singer. I mean, I quite literally do everything charismatic under the sun. I am not frustrated, right? Because it's just, but I also was just like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I feel like it's just funny to me, right? Because I'm just like, well, yep, no, this makes sense, right? You know, the person who entertains everybody. I've always been, that class clown, the person who's trying to make everyone laugh, as I've tried to make you all laugh this podcast, and a bunch of you have, thank you. Whether that was so pretty or not, I appreciate you. So it's one of those things where I appreciate it. I was interested if it was going to give me Sorcerer, because I've always been very heavily charisma based, right? That's just when we talk about stat blocks, right? That's my 100% million uncontested highest stat. But I will say, like, as I've played Sorcerers, especially in Josh's campaign, I used to think that I was not a creative person. And I realized that if you give me the right route, right? If you give me the right sandbox to do it in, Josh can attest, I have stretched Minor Illusion farther than probably anyone else has in the entire world, because I'm just like, wait a second, we can do this, right? Like the ideas thing. But at my core, I do love entertaining. I also love being the center of attention. That shouldn't shock any of you. And attention is nice. Don't let anyone tell you that they don't like attention. Everyone likes at least 1% of attention. So I'm assuming all of you are going to agree, but I would like to hear from Mark as my longest standing friend in this call. Marky, what do you think? Is this on the nose or what?
Yes, very on the nose. I don't really have anything to add.
Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I've known you for, over, probably just about 10 years now.
I met you in 14, so it's
so over 10 years.
It's 11.
I don't think there's ever been a time where you haven't really been entertaining in some way, one way or another, from our our days as lowly cashiers, being
Right.
very bored, and making do with whatever we were doing. So, yeah, no, it fits perfectly, and I don't think there's any other option I would choose.
Josh, I've only known you for a little bit longer than Hannah, so I would love to hear your thoughts, especially as my DM, right? And getting to watch me play these other charisma classes, but just as long as you've known me.
Yeah, no, I think it is the right choice class-wise for you. I think you seek out spotlight and shine in it. And yeah, you are a very creative person. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, but you're
Nope.
always willing to try something. And it's been a lot of fun to roll with things in the campaign. And, you know, it's led to a lot of fun places. And I think you going out of your way to really get into your characters kind of helps others around do the same, which I think has just elevated the campaign experience as a whole. So yeah, nothing more to add. I think it's spot on.
Josh, I think that's one of the nicest things anyone has ever said to me is you seek out the spotlight and then you shine in it. And I was like, wow. Okay, don't cry on the podcast. Everything is super great. And last but certainly not least, Hannah.
Oh, you are 100% a bard. Like, there's no question.
Hannah, the relationship between you
no
and I is
argument.
funny, right? Because you came in on a raid on Twitch, and then you were like, I just never left, right? And it's...
Yeah.
And I would love to hear more about, like, was it the charisma that kept you? Was it the stupid jokes? What was it that made you stay around and then join the studio?
I think it was more than just you, because I think it was the community as a whole. Like, everyone was very welcoming. I'm like, oh, it's nice here. I'm just going to stay. Which, like, you would lead by example, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was your stream. Yeah.
That is a good point, right? Like, making a community, which has been one of my biggest dreams, right? And so that makes me so happy, right? Of like, you know, Josh made a comment, and one of my favorite jokes from SNL is from the David Pumpkin skits, where it's like, there's 100 floors, so not all going to be winners, right? If a joke doesn't land, that's fine. We just try a different one, right? It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like one of the biggest things with being a bard is you can't be dissuaded by failure, right? You just have to try to come at it from a different angle and a different way to be entertaining. And also understand that you're not going to be everyone else's taste, right?
I mean, that's like every performer, regardless of what you're performing. I mean, actor, singer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be okay with failure, or you're not going to get very far.
Would we say
and actually, that's true of a lot of things.
Right.
But, yeah.
Would you all say that being a Twitch streamer is an entertainer? Because Hannah said that, and I was like, wait a second. No, that does make a lot of sense. It's just a different medium, right, than the other ones.
Yeah, you can kind of think of it as like you're on stage, you know, you're on camera, you're in front of several eyes, you know, people watching and listening to what you're doing and saying, kind of like a stage production. So I don't see the farness of being an entertainer for a streamer.
I like that.
I think there are different types of streamers. I think there are some streamers that can get by with gameplay alone. You know, like people that like put all of their time into one thing and they're very good at that one thing. And so it's okay that they're not very like entertaining outside of that because people are there for the gameplay. But I think a vast majority of streamers live or die by their ability to keep their audience entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in between, you know, ad breaks and stuff.
Right.
Because like, especially on the internet where everything moves so fast and everybody lives by such, you know, dopamine hits every 2 seconds. Like, in order to get people to like sit through an ad break and then watch you again afterwards, they have to be having a really good time.
So moving to our next, unless anyone else wanted to add anything, I think moving on to our next segment of what our IRL D&D stat blocks are, I'm actually going to shake this up a little bit, and Mark, you're going to start with us. So there will be a link in the description to the criteria that we're using. But Mark, looking at this list, what do you think your strength score would be?
These criteria are actually a little bit more complicated than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Because there are some things like 16 to 17 carries heavy objects with one arm, but then like 14 and 15 is visibly toned. I'm not toned, but I can carry heavy things with one arm.
I would give you a 16.
Yeah.
Just from knowing you and working out with you and moving heavy shit with you, I would give you a 16.
Mm-hmm.
Josh?
I mean, there are a lot of people who can carry heavy objects who are not visibly toned.
Right.
And it's because of how they've learned how to use their muscles. So that makes complete sense to me.
Right. Josh, how strong are you, buddy?
All right, so I put an asterisk next to this one because I think the actual value is 8, but I got a feat on my character a couple levels back called Dad Strength. That bumps it up to the 10-11 range.
Okay.
Dad.
So
yeah,
like
you know, the dad forums and the dad calves, Mark.
Yeah. So I would say below average, but because of dad powers, about average. Strength's never been it's my dump stat in life. So I'd put myself in the 10 to 11 range of pulling my own weight.
Alrighty, Hannah.
I'm also in that 10 to 11.
Okay.
Which once in a while I could do the carry heavy objects for a short distance, but that's under very specific circumstances. So I would lean more towards that 10 to 11.
Okay. Jordan, I'm gonna go next, and I do have this is mostly for Mark and Jordan as they've been around me. I'm stuck between 15, 16, and 17. Because I don't want to, like, talk myself up and say that I'm a 17, but I definitely feel like I'm stronger than a 15.
That makes sense.
But, like, Mark, are we 16s together, or am I a 17, or do you edge me out as a 17?
No, I mean, the whole thing is that, like, you actually work out, so there's like there's that strength that you're building. So I would say it's fair to say you're like 17, maybe like 18 with an asterisk, because I'm not sure if you could break wood with your bare hands.
Not after my injury, there's no way, right?
No.
That's
No.
I will be humble here and put a 16. I think once I continue to work out after the cancer recovery, right, and I'm fully swinging the thing, I think I could get a 17 easy, but I think I'll stop at a 16. And Jordan, what do you got for us?
I think I am probably somewhere between a 13 and a 14, mostly because I'm lazy, but I think if I really tried, I could probably get up to a 16, because I feel like I can carry pretty heavy objects, and I do a lot of stuff like that, just not even by training. But I'll carry heavy objects for a short distance several times in a row, rather than carry them long distances.
Do you want to settle for a 13 or a 14?
I'll take the 14. Just I'll put myself on the lower end of the 14.
And like, laziness is not correlative to your strength.
That's true. I think if I really tried, I would probably be a 14.
I would like to start off Dex because I truly believe this is my dump stat, unfortunately. And I'm... Mark and Jordan, am I a 6?
Oh, I wouldn't put you down that low.
I'm always injured.
Maybe a 9, I think, would be the lowest I would put you.
See, it sucks because it's like I can catch things, right? Like you all saw me catch the frisbee over and over and over again, right? Like I can catch frisbees, I can catch balls, like I can, hit like, small objects, but like when it comes to like me and my 2 feet, right? That's where all the problems start. So like, but also I'm not slow. I ran college track, right? So it's like, there's like, maybe it's like maybe it's like an 11, but I have advantage on speed. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's very complicated for me, right? Like
So I think, I think one of the things with these modifiers that would be easiest to calculate would be take all the things that make up dexterity and then take the average of that. So take your speed, which you would say is fairly high, but take your reaction time, or not reaction time, but like your, you think that you were like a 6 or 7, so like it says like you're very slow to react, or sometimes you trip over yourself. Maybe that's like the minus that you're looking for. So maybe the one on the one side for your speed you'd give yourself a 12, but on like the other side you give yourself a 7, so that puts you somewhere in like the 9 range.
I was gonna give myself a 9 after you were talking about that.
So I think taking the bulk of the whole thing, like I guess, so like what Mark was saying with my strength is like I feel lazy, so I feel like that brings me down a little bit, but at the same time I think I am pretty strong. So I think on average my strength is somewhere around the 14.
Okie dokie. And Jordan, back to you. What's your dex?
So I played a lot of soccer all the way through my childhood, and I don't think that ever really prevented me from really losing much dexterity. So I'd probably put my dexterity at a 14 or a 15, probably a 15, I think.
Okay.
Mostly because I do have like really good hand-eye coordination, stuff like that. Like I can juggle pretty well, like stuff like that. But being a little bit heavier, I'm a little not as fast as I used to be. So I think I could get higher if I like went to the gym, and actually tone that. But I don't think there's a way I'd put myself any lower than a 15.
Okay.
It's just training weight.
Right, exactly.
Hell yeah. Hannah?
They're just holding me back.
I put myself at a 16 for dex.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Based on the criteria, I'm like, yeah, I can quite often hit small targets. So, I mean, that's their 16, 17.
Hannah said, I'm fast
There's
as
a lot
fuck,
of those.
boy.
I mean, I can catch things fairly well. Yeah. And just given what I do for a living, working with tiny things, the nimbleness in the fingers, there's a lot of dexterity involved there. So I'm like,
Actually,
yeah, I'm a little higher.
While Reese and Jordan were talking, Hannah actually sent me a video of her running down rabbits and throwing spears through them in fields.
Oh, God!
It was very impressive.
I appreciate no, but that's honestly that would be canonical because Hannah would be like, Reese would never want to see this. I would never hurt Reese's feelings. Josh, this stranger, on the other hand, I can hurt this man's feelings. No, Hannah, that's
that video that would put me at like an 18 or 19.
That's true.
Able to often hit small moving targets.
Moves like water. Hannah, I would say though that's a very astute observation with like the jewelry making and fixing, right, and repairing. It's like you've got to be able to, moving stuff that's not just your body parts with ease, right? I feel like that's just a very dexterous trait. So, Josh,
yeah,
what are we doing?
So for dexterity, I put myself at 14.
Okay.
It's funny, throughout my entire life, I've never looked fast, but I have a very explosive sprint. I'm very dangerous over short distances. So
you're a dwarf?
Yeah, I'm a dwarf at heart.
Aw, cutie.
But also, one of the things was able to catch or dodge medium-sized surprise projectiles. I have things thrown at me daily, so like, I think that's pretty accurate.
You get that little extra asterisk boost from being a dad.
I'm constantly being trained.
Part of that dad feat you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Don't Google dad feet, everyone. Please don't do that. Don't.
No, I'm talking FEAT.
Sure, you were, Mark.
FEAT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Only Google it if you know how to spell.
Right. I don't know how to read, so this isn't going to work for me. Mark, go ahead.
I'm not a fast person. I wasn't fast even when I was physically fit. However, I do have a pretty good reaction time, and I'm a pretty good shot also.
You got your marksman badge in the military, right?
I did. I've also been duck hunting, which is very hard to do. I would probably say like 13, 14.
I'm gonna give you a 14. I would like
I'm
for
not-
you to be on the higher end, because you being able to get a marksman badge from the military is not something that everyone gets to do, right? And kind of taking off of Hannah's thing of like being able to control something with your limbs that's not your limbs to execute something, that does take some dexterity there. So, alrighty. Mark, we're gonna restart with you with the one that I think you're gonna place the highest in, which is Constitution.
Okay. I am rarely sick, which is kind of ironic that I'm feeling a little sick right now, but I'm probably sick maybe once or twice a year. I'm not someone who's easily knocked over. I've never broken a bone in my life.
Same.
I am able to work long days. This is something that comes in the criteria at 14, 15, or for 14 and 15. I would probably say I'm about in the 15, 16, 17 range.
Mark, I've seen you stay awake for days. And
I mean,
isn't that part of the military thing of being on watch?
The military is very big on getting your 8 hours of sleep.
Okay. I was going to give you an 18.
18.
18. You can fight me on that, but I truly think that, like, when I think Constitution, I think you.
Yeah,
Yeah, get complimented, idiot.
I've been complimented very well. About the staying awake for days on end, I did try one time to pull an all-nighter. It was when we went to Lido's.
Yes.
And then we were all hanging out in my car.
Until like
And then I
7
went
in the
and-
morning.
Yeah, and then I dropped our friend off, and she gave me some coffee. And then I had to drive out to Buckeye Lake after that. And then my parents were like, "Hey, can you go to the store and pick some stuff up for us?" I'm like, "Sure. Tim, get in the car. You're going with me." And then I proceeded to fall asleep while walking at the store. I was probably on like hour 24 or 25 at that point.
Did you make it to the end of the aisle and then just hit a wall, or?
I woke up.
The real wall or like the quote unquote wall?
Which wall did you break?
So
Wall 1 or wall 3?
So on my right hand side was the orange juice, and I woke up and I was maybe like 15 feet down next, and like when I came to, the milk was there. So I didn't go very far, but I did absolutely fall asleep and wake up in a different location.
Oh.
Wow.
Well,
Your body could have been doing anything in that 15 feet. You'll never
I know.
True.
So, what are you settling on, Mark? 17?
I'll say 17.
I'll go next because I have a question. Oh, Constitution is tough for me, right? Being a cancer survivor, right? I get sick a lot, right? But I've also made it through every single sickness and beat cancer's ass. So I don't know what to say here, right? Because like there are other more constitutionally sound people that lost to cancer, right? Or
Grace,
lost.
I thought we agreed the scale only goes up to 20.
Listen, the tireless paragon of physical endurance, right? Like, because like part of me is like looking at this and it's just like, I'm on the 6 and 7 and usually prone to disease and infection. I was literally fighting off 2 infections at the same time 3 weeks ago. Right, but also, like, I'm not easily winded. Right, I work out consistently. Right, and so, but it's like I've worked 16-hour days at the zoo. Right, so this is kind of like all over the place. Right, so it's like, I don't know if it's like a 7 with like advantage on everything else that's not getting sick. Right, like, I truly don't know. Because, like, the scale for Constitution is all over the place.
Right.
It's almost
so
like you have a.
you start. Go ahead, Han.
Well, it's almost like you have a decent con, but then you have like disadvantage against disease or
Ooh!
something like that.
That's what I was gonna say actually.
Yeah.
So do we think
You're
like a 14 with disadvantage on disease?
I think so. I was gonna give you the disease debuff.
Yeah.
Reese, did you attune yourself to any magical item before getting it identified?
No, because I didn't trick the shopkeeper into just looking at something and possibly getting cursed, because I'm the sorcerer in our party who would never do that. I can't say that for the other sorcerer in the party. Jordan, how constitutionally sound are you?
It's so hard because, like, you know, obviously in D&D you gotta give yourself some fault somewhere, but I genuinely think, like, overall I'm pretty middling in most things and then a little bit higher in some other things. I would probably put my Constitution the lowest out of all my stats, but I also think it's still in like the 13 to 14 range as well.
Okay.
And I have a advantage against disease 100% though.
Just fucking rub it in.
I've got the so I'll give myself a 12, and I'll give myself the buff to advantage against disease.
Speaking of advantage of disease, we're going to move to Josh, who's going to get another asterisk for having children. How has this improved since you've had kiddos?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? So I gave myself a 15 on Constitution. I feel like I've always had a very healthy immune system. Like, I still get sick, but I feel like I can get through it a lot quicker than a lot of people around me can. And then because my kids will oftentimes, you know, when they were a lot younger, babies, newborns, that kind of thing, oftentimes there would be extremely late nights or early mornings that would lead immediately into like a work day or, you know, like travel or something. And that just kind of fell to me a lot of the time to just, you know, sit, get very little sleep, but still be able to, you know, function the next day. And I've been able to do that. So I think 15 is a pretty solid score for me here.
Sweet. Hannah?
I'm also in that 13 to 14. I mean, I am able to labor for long hours a day. I just choose not to.
I feel that.
So, and I mean, I'm like Mark. I haven't broken a bone ever. Never gotten stitches. Had a concussion, but
Ooh.
yeah, it wasn't fun. I don't recommend. So yeah.
Is the not getting hurt because of your constitution or your intelligence or wisdom, though?
Uh-oh.
I mean, if your nerves perceive pain, then they perceive pain. Like, there's no way around that.
Alrighty. I'm gonna select Josh. Josh, how smart are you?
Oh, so smart.
How smart? Oh, what a smart little guy.
This is a smart little guy. Yeah, so this was interesting because intelligence, wisdom, I feel like have, you know, some obvious ties between the two. I put myself as being high in intelligence and moderate in wisdom because I feel like I know a lot of things. So for intelligence, I put myself at a 15 because I work in very, you know, logic, puzzle solving field of work, and so I do have to kind of be quick on my feet to figure things out, to really hunt down problems and fix them, that kind of thing. So I think I would put myself at a 15 intelligence.
I like the idea of combining this discussion between both a wisdom and intelligence.
That also works because we're already almost at an hour, so that works great.
Okay. Yeah, and then I give myself a 10 wisdom. I think I'm smart, but I don't always know how to perform the most smart choices in like social situations. So that's where I would put myself.
I will go next because I have some questions. So I'm not excellent at math, but as you all know, I am very good at logic. And I'm a very logical person, and logic puzzles are great. So I gave myself a 14 because I feel like if you got a 15, you'd be able to do math and logic instead of just one or the other. So I gave myself a 14 on intelligence, and then I gave myself... See, this is tough because I want to give myself either a 19 or a 20 on wisdom. Because, and Mark and Jordan can chime in here, I'm very often, I mean, some of my friends call me dad, right? Like, and that, I held that as like a position, right? Of like, okay, well, like, you've been through a lot, which I have, right? So, like, what would you do for this? Or like when my nephew drove 3 hours from college to be like, Uncle Reese, I want to change my major. Can I still do that right now? Like, what was your experience type of thing? So, like, I would consider myself very wise for 30, but that also comes from a lot of trauma and a lot of tragedy. So, Mark and Jordan, I want you to tell me, is it a 19 or a 20? Because, like, I've blown past 17. There's few situations I can't read, right? Like...
Yeah, I think 20 is pretty reasonable. Because, there's so many times where we'll be in a conversation and, we'll be in a three-way conversation, and then the third person would leave, and you just turn to me and like, do you think that this was, what that person was talking about, or like how they felt? And I'm just like, I didn't see that at all. But I'm like, but when you explain it to me, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think you can read people very well.
It reminds me of, I won't say the person's name because they're in the studio, but like when I was out at dinner with them and they went to the restroom and someone they brought with them was at the table, and I turned to them, so I was like, so how long have you had feelings for so-and-so? And they were like,
exactly.
How did you know it? And I was like, well, if you're going to look at someone like that, at least be a little like less obvious, right? Like, but Mark, what do you think? Do you think 20 is good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, someone now go, because I'm feeling self-conscious. Mark, tell me about your intelligence and wisdom.
So intelligence, the thing about intelligence is that, like, I'm not a knowing kind of person. I have the ability to learn. If something is made a priority for me to learn, or if it's something I'm interested in, then I'm very good at learning it. However, I'm not great at math. I like some logic puzzles, but like once they get too complicated, I'm like, I don't really care. I'd probably say I'm like maybe a 13.
I would say so. You have that savant behavior, though, where, like, if something interests you, Mark, you know every fucking thing about it, and that's one of the best attributes of you, is if, like, when I got into Final Fantasy XIV, you've never not been able to answer a question, right? Because you've been so into the game for so long. And then what do you think your wisdom is?
I feel like I'm okay at reading people, but I do have life experience, which I do have to kind of like put an asterisk there, because I mean, once you're 30, how do you not have life experience to draw upon and give advice with?
We could talk about that in another episode. There are plenty of 30-year-olds and older who have not experienced anything.
Wisdom, I would probably put like at a 15 or 14.
Okay. I'd definitely go 14. No offense, I probably wouldn't go 15, but I wouldn't give yourself as low as a 13.
Yeah.
I think especially as you get older, I think I see that 14 becoming a 15. So,
yeah.
But I think that's very reasonable. Hannah, intelligence, wisdom?
Okay, so I put my intelligence at 17.
That does not surprise me in the slightest. Hannah, you
Specifically
know
because
how to
of
do so
able,
many things, it's crazy.
that specifically that able to understand new tasks quickly. Like half my classroom stuff, half my jobs, I'm like, okay, you don't need to explain this again. I got it. Especially if it's hands-on tasks.
Right.
Like, let me do it once or twice. Okay, I'm good. So yeah, I don't see it higher than 17 because I definitely like the criteria we're using to invent new processes or uses for knowledge, and I don't do that. Like, no, I'm gonna stick with how I know it works.
Right. And
Wisdom, I go for it.
no, I was gonna say, what are you feeling for wisdom?
Wisdom, I put like 13, 14,
Okay.
probably 14. I get people that come into work and I'm like, yeah, I can tell when you're not actually gonna do what you say you're doing.
Yeah. That hunches, or as I like to call
Yeah.
it, my intuition, it takes a minute to get used to it and then to hone it. Right? Like I feel like that's the easiest way to start kind of, but like it grows and hones itself as you experience more and more things.
Yeah.
Right, but when you're looking for
Like,
human interaction, right, it's a lot easier to it's like almost this is so weird to describe it. It's almost like a repetition thing. Right?
yes.
When you've met and learned about so many different people, it's very easy to just be like, oh, okay, cool. Like I have all of these experiences with all these different people that have kind of culminated in this collective wisdom.
Yeah, well, like some of that I've noticed because I was thinking of my job since I own my own business and I interact with people who come in. You learn pretty quickly, like, yeah, I'll believe it when you walk back in with the money type of thing.
Oh, let's go, Hannah.
You know? I mean, I get people that I had the one example I'm thinking of in the entire conversation. He kept saying, one, I can get it cheaper in another country, and then two, I'll be back. And I'm going, you're contradicting yourself. I will believe it when you walk back in the door and give me money.
I will be back from the other country with your money, Hannah. I promise you.
Yeah, it just.
I
So,
didn't know Hannah
yeah,
was part of the mafia.
All right, cut the recording. God.
Was that not public knowledge?
No.
I'm sorry.
Hannah, change your last name quick. Jordan, in wisdom, what do we got?
So I would say my wisdom is actively fighting against my, or well, I'll say it the other way around. I think my intelligence is actively fighting against my wisdom.
Ooh.
I think I would put my intelligence at probably an 18 or a 19.
Okay.
I feel like everything I've ever been given as a task, if I don't know it, I'll figure it out pretty quickly. I work IT. I have no IT background whatsoever. Someone just said, hey, I think you'll be good at this job, and then they gave it to me. And I learned everything basically within like a week. And I can teach myself new things. I've just recently started picking up coding on the side just because I want to.
For no particular projects at this time.
No
Wink.
particular projects not related to RuneScape, but
Nope.
Screenshots,
Allegedly.
But I think that actively fights against my wisdom because I would put my wisdom probably to a 12, mostly because I like to think I see the logic in why people are thinking the things that they do, rather than trying to feel the reasons why they think the things that they do or do the things that they do. Something I definitely talk to my therapist about a lot is like, oh, this person, decided to, do, something that just doesn't logically make sense. I'm just trying to figure out why. But then I, have to be told like, yeah, well, they probably did it because they're upset, stuff like that, where I'm just like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I definitely think my intelligence kind of fights my wisdom there.
Okay. I will start the last one because I have a question. Now, here's the thing. I know we said we're not supposed to go above 20, but looking at these, am I at a 23 or a 24?
Well, no, because that would be impossible.
Like Like, I'm definitely not trying to be full of myself. That's 100% not it. But I'm like, or like, I mean, let's be honest. I blow past 20 and 21. Life of the party, able to keep people entertained for hours. It's literally what I do as a Twitch streamer, right? And then so I'm just like immediately likable by almost everyone, which is funny because you either really like my personality or you really don't like my personality. So I know that we said max was 20, but am I actually a real life 22? I don't know about you, but I'm
give you a 22.
But I'm
Reese,
feeling
your greed
22.
for numbers will be your downfall. I award you a 10 charisma score.
Oh no, only polite conversation. Do you like cheese? Oh god.
Asked exactly like that.
I was still being polite. Thank you very much. I'll settle for a 22 as I toss my hair very slightly. And I don't mean that to like talk myself up, but I'm looking at this criteria and I'm just like, okay, I can do party and entertain for hours, and I'll do a 22 because if everyone liked me, right, then we could be a 23, 24. Everyone would be renowned for wit, personality, and/or looks. But I'll take a 22. Hannah.
Right.
Hannah, how charismatic are you?
I would say a 13 or 14.
I feel like you being a shop owner, I feel like 13, 14 makes sense, right? Because you could be a shop owner at 11 and not do great, right?
Yeah. I would say 13 or 14 with like advantage in specific situations.
Ooh, yeah.
Because there's some of the 16, 17, like as a shop owner in a small town. People know me on the street. But like I'm not out and about. It's just they know who I am, mainly because my dad was also a shop owner and he talked about me. So like people know my dad and therefore they think they know me. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but hi. So
that makes
pros and cons of living in a small pros and cons of living in a small town.
Josh? Josh! Sorry, I've wanted to do that the whole stream or the whole podcast. Which, for those of you listening at home, if you've ever seen the Blair Witch Project, yes, that is a reference to them just screaming Josh in the woods for 15 minutes. But I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So I would put myself at a 13 charisma. I think I am a fun person to be around, an entertaining person to be around, with the caveat of I have to be comfortable. If I'm placed in a new environment, new people around me, I will close up into my reclusive headspace and sit there happily until I'm released back to my home. So I would say I'm a 13. Mildly interesting, knows what to say to the right people. I feel like saying to the right people is fairly accurate.
Josh, just to run it by you, I feel like you would have had a miserable time at the wedding I went to the other day where I only knew the bride and groom and they stuck me at a table full of people I didn't know. And yes, we are still all Facebook friends to this time.
God.
I had the best time. I had the most fun.
Yeah, I have to go to a pair of weddings next week, I believe, and it's gonna be something interesting to survive.
Is Eileen going with you?
Oh yeah, it's two of her cousins.
Oh, okay. Well, then at least you have her. So, not her evil twin sister Elaine. So, Jordan.
So I'm gonna put my charisma as my dump stat. You know, being a warlock, I'm a great warlock. Not really. I'd probably put it somewhere around 12. But well, I guess yeah, I'll give it a 12 with as Hannah said, with a buff in certain situations. If
Pokemon,
I am
Digimon.
doing, yeah, if I'm doing something that I absolutely love or am very confident at, I would definitely give myself a solid 3 or 4 points on that. But if I'm in a situation where I don't have any control over it, like a wedding that I don't know the bride and groom, I think I'd actually take a debuff on that. So do not ask me to like dance at a wedding or talk to someone. Like, I just won't do it.
Mark, last but certainly not least, my friend.
Like
Don't be shy, Mark.
I was gonna say you've only had an hour and 11 minutes. It's okay.
So, the thing about charisma is, I think I am very entertaining to my friends.
God, I love how funny you are.
It's hard for me to get out of my shell when meeting new people. I eventually open up to them, and will say stupid things to make them laugh, but the initial phase is not something I'm good at, so I'd probably say something like 13, 14.
I was gonna give you a 13, mostly because, like, you get into 16, 17 when you're with our friends, right? But it's always fascinating when I introduce Mark to new people, and I'll be like, why is Mark not talking a lot? And I'm like, wait a second, Mark doesn't know these people yet. Because then Mark will transition to the point where Mark is constantly talking and joking and having a great time, but there's still that introvert part of you, right? So, all right. Well, everyone, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad that this was just kind of a thought and this went well. Folks in the comments, if you like this and this does well, then we will interview the rest of the cast of people. There are 20 other people in our cast that we'd love to share this with. Also in the comments, we'd love for you to share what your class is. We're going to post the links to the quiz. If you want to take Jordan's 144 question quiz, knock yourself out. It's going to take longer than 5 minutes. And also we'll share the criteria for how we came up with our stat blocks. We really appreciate you listening to Chaos and Company's podcast series, and we will catch you all next time. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.